Hey everyone, my name is Tomato Anus, also known as the reason why my mom cries herself to sleep, and this is a segmented any % speedrun of Doom Eternal. If you're familiar with this channel and during the video you start thinking, wow, the skill level in this gameplay is so high, there's no way Tomato could have done it, but also the smooth moves of the runner seem so familiar, then that feeling would be well founded because this run is performed by Seeker, who holds the world record for this run and also helped me make the Doom 2016, Dishonored, and Prey 2017 videos over a year ago now. Not only did Seeker actually perform the run you're about to see, but he also helped me write the script to make sure the explanations are all as accurate as possible and also that I don't say anything stupid. If you'd prefer to watch either this segmented run without commentary or Seeker's current any % world record, which is also commentary free, there are links in the description below. Also, with this being any %, glitches are allowed. If you would prefer a run without glitches, I recommend you watch a run of the no major glitches category, which is a category that relies much less on glitches than any %. There's a link in the description to the current classic inbounds no major glitches world record run performed by Zai. This any % run is performed on an officially released 1.0 patch version of the game, which is a down-patched version of the game. Real quick, here's a rundown of Doom Eternal if you're unfamiliar with it and how it's structured. Demons have invaded Earth and wiped out about 60% or so of the population. We play as the Doomslayer and our goal is to stop the invasion, and to accomplish that, we have to wipe out 3 Hell Priests, Daig Nylox, Daig Rannoch, and Daig Grav. These 3 serve an angelic being known as the Khan Maker who wants to sacrifice mankind for reasons. We played through 13 missions in our attempt to eliminate these priests and stop the Khan Maker, as well as having to which is a The goal of this speedrun is to complete these missions as fast as possible, utilizing any tools at our disposal. With that being said, let's get into the Chicago guy. You've made it to the $1 million question and have only 1 lifeline remaining. Are you ready? Alright, here we go. What company aims to make a positive impact in the world with a tree planting mission where every purchase of their product plants a tree as a part of the Forest Garden Project? Is it A, Displate, B, the number 6, C, the letter C, or D, blank? It appears there's no option D. I'm not sure. Let me use my lifeline to call my roommate Minnesota guy. Okay, calling your roommate Minnesota guy now. Hello? Hey, I have no time to explain. What company aims to make a positive impact in the world with a tree planting mission where every purchase of their product plants a tree as a part of the Forest Garden Project? Is it A, Displate, B? Yeah, sure, I know this. It's A, Displate. They support the Forest Garden Project to help optimize agriculture production in Tanzania, which impacts hunger, poverty, and deforestation, don't you know? So far, they've planted over 12 million trees. Their products are sick too. They're high quality posters printed on metal. They have an enormous selection of high quality art and serves as a platform and marketplace for over 40,000 artists around the world. Also, even if you're a lazy bum from Wisconsin, they're easy to hang. You can easily hang them in under 20 seconds, no snags or anything. I actually have a discount available for 30% off if you order in the next week and 15% off anytime after that. I didn't catch a word from that. I'm just gonna guess A, Displate, final answer. Chicago guy. You've just won $1 million. Oh! Okay, so I've never done this before, but I have to talk about a piece of tech in the game before the run starts because there's no time in the actual run to talk about it because everything happens so quick. So something super important is that runners bind jump to their scroll wheel, which lets them jump super high and perform a glitch called slope boosting. So if you're on a ledge and falling off, or standing on a slope, and you spam a bunch of jump inputs at the right time with the scroll wheel, then all of the jumps get registered at once, and you get somewhere between a really high jump and just getting absolutely blasted to the moon. This is slope boosting and it's used all the time throughout the run. You can't miss it. Anytime you see a jump that's higher than normal, it's a slope boost. Like I just mentioned, you can be standing on a slope and do it, hence the name, and stairs are functionally slopes in the game, so we can slope boost off of them as well. The really big and noticeable slope boosts throughout the run though are done when we're falling off of ledges. That's because if you're on a ledge and falling off, you're still technically on the ground while you're falling off of the ledge and hugging it, so you can spam jump inputs as you're falling down, and those jump inputs will be registered as you're touching it, but then also as you go back up, you're still touching the ledge and still technically on the ground, so you can enter jump inputs then too. Whereas when you're on a slope and you enter jump inputs, you just go up immediately. So you can't get as many jump inputs in a short span of time and have them all be registered at once when you're on a slope, as compared to when you're falling off a ledge and you spam your jump inputs. So this is why when we do slope boosts off of ledges, we get absolutely blasted to the moon, as I mentioned earlier. Additionally, slope boosts are FPS dependent, so if you have a higher FPS, you can enter more jump inputs and get a bigger boost, but console players can actually still perform slope boosts as well, but just not to the same extent. Okay, now let's get to the run. Right when the run starts, Seeker is going to clear out 3 zombies and then listen to my #1 frick in all of gaming, Vega, who is making its return after we backed it up in our Doom 2016 speedrun from last year. After Vega graces our ears for the first time in too long, Seeker hops down some stairs where he picks up the chainsaw and utilizes the momentum from punching a stationary block to boost himself up onto the 2nd floor. Here we unlock a weapon mod and get the sticky launcher, which will help out in some combat sections later. Seeker then quits to the main menu and reloads the save, so we load back at the starting location, but now with our stickies, because collecting upgrades persists through reloading checkpoints. We then perform the first slope boost of the run on some stairs to get out of bounds, then go to a nearby corner to perform a variation of a slope boost called a stuck boost, where we got the Slayer stuck in a corner and spammed jump inputs. This stuck boost / slope boost is a perfect example of how broken they can be, because after curving himself in air like a bullet fired by James McAvoy, Seeker lands as made in flight and interacts with the end of level trigger, crossing the first mission off of our list in spectacular fashion. Back at the Fortress of Doom, Seeker is going to immediately grab the most appetizing sounding part of our arsenal, the Flame Belch, and he swaps weapons right before he interacts with the Belch, which skips the animation of picking up the Belch for the first time. After then upgrading his ammo capacity for the Belch and then punching a rock in the process because yes, Seeker then starts up a portal by pushing down on a sphere and high-fiving a screen, marking the end to our first visit to the fortress and the beginning of the second mission, Exultia. We have a quick moment, so I want to say that if you didn't notice during the huge stuck boost earlier, for large stuck boosts and slope boosts, Seeker has to pull up the weapon wheel while falling off the ledge to slow down time to be sure to input all the jumps at the correct moment, and also to input enough jumps to get enormous launches like the one earlier. Back to the current timeline, Exultia is one of the more combat-heavy segments in the speedrun, and concrete evidence that Seeker isn't human. After dropping down to grab a 1-up for a respawn trick later, Seeker performs a quick slope boost across a big gap. Upon landing and blowing up some enemies real quick, Seeker then picks up the heavy cannon and makes his way to the first combat segment of the game. During the end of the combat segment that's just starting up, Seeker's going to stand close to a wall so that a Caco demon that spawns will get stuck on top of the roof, which causes it to just stop living, and we'll witness it roll across the screen after the fight. After taking out all the enemies and admiring the Rolly Boy for a moment, Seeker heads inside and bunny hops over to and picks up the Infinity Gauntlet and rides the elevator, being sure to clench his cheeks in case Ant-Man is around. Seeker then hops off the elevator and bunny hops along a corridor to grab and select the air control rune. Real quick about bunny hops, they preserve and build up momentum by converting some of your negative vertical velocity into horizontal velocity, increasing your speed depending on how far you fell from. That should be pretty apparent though. Now that we have the air control rune, Seeker exits to the main menu and reloads our game to spawn back at a checkpoint while maintaining our progress where we have the air control rune. Seeker is a big fan of architecture, so after slope boosting on some stairs to get out of bounds, he performs a huge slope boost to both fly over the map and progress through the level, as well as give himself a moment to admire the rotundas and domes in the architecture. After landing with an exceptional amount of grace, Seeker then has to fist some green lights to break some chains to get a blender moving, which reveals the dash ability. Once he picks up the dash ability, Seeker quits to the main menu and reloads the game from the checkpoint, bringing us back to a convenient location while still maintaining the dash ability we just picked up. When we load back in, we'll then perform 2 quick slope boosts on minor slopes, one to get onto an upper level and the second to get out of bounds. Once out of bounds, we carefully navigate on over to a precise spot where Seeker performs another stuck boost, which again is like a slope boost where you get your character stuck in a corner. This one freaking launches us to the stars, and we fly across pretty much the entire playable area, where Seeker is then going to trust fall into the void, knowing that solid ground will eventually spawn under him. After sticking the landing like Carrie Strug, Seeker will bunny hop through some rocks to the edge of the walkable out of bounds area, where he'll perform a quick slope boost to hit a magma trigger. This spawns us back in the playable area, where Seeker is going to immediately slope boost to quickly reach a combat arena, which marks the end of this second mission. All this slope boosting is the calm before the storm, because this combat arena is nutty. Let's try to keep up. Seeker starts firing on an Arachnotron right away with stickies and picks up the Onslaught power up for quadruple damage. He heavy cannons a Revenant hopping out of the magma, then stickies a Newborn Knight and Gargoyle. He then snipes a Cacodemon with a heavy cannon, which leads to a triple kill of 2 gargoyles and a soldier. After a disrespectful sticky to the knee of an imp and taking out a soldier, Seeker bisects an Arachnotron. Seeker takes out the final imp from the sky after performing a flashy slope boost off of some stairs, then stands where the portal back to Castle Doom spawns, and by standing on top of where the portal spawns, once the portal did spawn, it skipped the portal cinematic that you usually get. This is used a lot throughout the run, and in this case, it immediately finished the level and brought us back to our humble abode. We have a bit of housekeeping to do before we can jump into the third mission. We're going to skip a lot of walking by performing something called a zip. If you dash at the very edge of a ledge with a specific angle, the Doomslayer gets launched downwards with speeds equal to around 55 times the normal running speed, which is so fast that we can go through death triggers if we lower our FPS to 60 when doing a zip. The zip we just did skipped us downwards to the combat arena at the bottom of the fortress. Seeker opened the nearby door to make the game think we just entered the arena, and then reloaded the game from the main menu to have the game officially start the combat arena since it thinks that we just entered properly and reloaded. This combat segment in the demon prison is about as metal as it sounds, with Seeker making the demons call him daddy as he punishes them before clearing them all out and going to use the portal that spawns to return to the main area of the fortress. Real quick, 3 minutes ago we grabbed the air control rune, but I didn't have time to explain what it does. The rune gives us an incredible amount of movement control when in air, which greatly helps when performing slope boosts and pretty much lets us dance around while airborne. Here Seeker is methodically dashing with a certain timing to pretty much always make sure that he has one dash ready to go, and he used up both dashes for maximum efficiency as he reached his goal, which was a Praetor token. This dashing method is used all throughout the run, so keep a lookout for it. After collecting the token and reloading the game to travel across the fortress quickly, we do the dash thingy we just discussed on our way to press down on the bowling ball again to open up a new portal, bringing us to the third mission, Cultist Base. First though, Seeker yoinked the ice bomb, because can't forget that. So I know that when we covered the Doom 2016 speedrun, I tricked you by saying that we were going to play through a level exactly as id Software intended, only to have the level be super glitch heavy. Well, this time with the Cultist Base, we actually are going to play through the level as intended as recompense for deceiving you over a year ago now. In the speedrun, we can actually head straight for the end of the mission right away, but we're going to make a quick detour to add the rocket launcher to our arsenal. Getting to the rocket launcher is pretty straightforward, just following the pathway that id laid out for us in development. With the potato cannon joining the banana in our pocket, Seeker then follows along the second pathway that id laid out for us, guiding us to the apparent red Bifrost bridge that Heimdall left up and running for us. Once we eventually land on the bridge and load in on a train, Seeker will activate the skull switch, bringing on the end of the third mission and bringing us to the fourth mission, Doom Hunter Base. Once the loading stops and mission starts, there's going to be a brief combat arena on the train, so while Seeker gets to clearing out a Mancubus and other demons, here's a quick catch up on the story so far. So as I mentioned at the start of the video, our main goal is to eliminate the 3 priests serving the Khan Maker, Daig Nilox, Daig Rannoch, and Daig Grav. The game actually opened with the Slayer taking out Daig Nilox, and after that, the Khan Maker teleported the other 2 to unknown locations. This train we're riding is actually bringing us to the location of Daig Rannoch so we can have a little chit chat with them about stopping this whole end humanity business. After clearing out the demons, we had to destroy a glowing green chain at the front of the train, and we were facing forward when we broke the chain, because after you break the chain, you don't progress until you face the front of the train, and if we're facing the front of the train when we break the chain, then we'll immediately load into the next domain, where we were immediately blinded by the light from the fade to white, and we set our sights on the site where we plan to take flight and fight to make Daig Rannoch contrite. After a quick slope boost to grab our second Praetor token, we immediately spend it on the upgrade Hot Swapper, which lets us swap between weapons and mods faster. Seeker then slope boosted real quick to get out of bounds, where he drops through the Pillar of Light to begin a boss fight against 2 Doom Hunters that protect Daig Rannoch. The combat in this fight is actually routed out pretty precisely, with us blood punching the sled of the first Doom Hunter, and then utilizing Hot Swapper to quickly swap on and off the rocket launcher to serve as a quick way of reloading the weapon and spam rockets, which allows us to output more damage per second than if we just kept the rocket launcher out without swapping. Additionally, our blood punch fully recharges when we wipe out the first Doom Hunter, so here we'll fist the second Doom Hunter in the bottom like how we did the first one to help speed up the whole ordeal. The The fisting and rocket swapping are the main tactics of the fight, which is interspersed with using the sticky launcher when we run out of or are low on rockets, and then also picking up ammo from nearby demons when needed. Once we get the second Doom Hunter low enough, we Sling Blade them to round out the combat arena in the 4th mission, and Seeker skips the cutscene where we say bye-bye to Dag Rannoch, because as metal as it may be, cutscenes are slow and this is a speedrun. When we load back into Latveria, Seeker hesitates to run to the door that's going to open and instead waits for it to open before dashing to ramp off the nearby stairs and gain a bunch of speed from falling through the air. With this ludicrous speed, we grab the ballista and reload the game from the checkpoint before performing the first ballista boost of the run. Ballista boosting is facing away from the direction we need to go and firing the ballista to launch ourselves in the needed direction. This is used a lot throughout the run to build up speed quickly and launch ourselves across gaps. The fact the weapon we use is called the ballista is good news for this video because a lot of you took issue with how I pronounce the G word that's part of the name of this same tech in the Doom 2016 speedrun. So remember earlier when I said Seeker was grabbing a 1-up for a respawn trick later? Dropping down to grab a 1-up for a respawn trick later, here it is because after getting out of bounds, Seeker ballista boosts and hits a lava death trigger to get his HP to 5 and uses the 1-up to avoid a small freeze you get when you typically death warp, saving about 1 second and spawning us at the end of the level where we listen to Vega describe your mom's genitals.
The oldest and most corrupted location on the planet.
Back at the Fortress of Doom, we're going to stand around and listen to our Zaddy inform us that the location of the final priest, Dag Grav, is still unknown and that we should reunite with some mope from Doom 2016 named Grayson or something like that. I don't know, I've never heard of the guy. The real important info that we get from this little pep talk is that we have to defeat the last priest to stop the consumption of Earth and that right now we're going to look for this Brayden dude who can help us find the priest. This leads us into the longest mission of the speedrun, Ark Complex. So remember earlier when we used a zip in the fortress to launch ourselves downwards super quick by dashing at a ledge? Well, Seeker is going to do another quick one while falling down an elevator shaft in a moment by dashing into one of the elevator doors as he's falling, making us pretty much instantaneously appear way below us. It looks like we pretty much teleport there, but like I said before, it's just us getting an insane amount of downward velocity for a super brief period of time. Here we have a combat arena where we cosplay as Rama and clear out a hallway, and you may notice that Seeker doesn't pay attention to a Mancubus that Kool-Aid mans through a wall, but that's because the Mancubus doesn't count towards the progress of this combat. Similar to before, the combat here and for the entire run is routed out pretty precisely. After we fist a Pinky and clear out the remaining enemies in a Tesco, we get an automatic checkpoint update for completing the combat, and Seeker quits out to reload the game from the checkpoint. This is to reset the location and spawn of a revenant that pops out of the ground on the other side of a nearby metal door because we're going to perform a chainsaw clip on it. By performing an exact series of movements to position ourselves perfectly and spamming chainsaw while switching to the rocket launcher, Seeker chainsaws the revenant in the neck while it's still coming out of the ground, and the animation of chainsawing its neck puts us underground and out of bounds. Out of bounds, we perform a couple ballista boosts across gaps as well as a slope boost to go up a level vertically. As you can tell, Seeker is pretty well versed with this out of bounds area because he's able to navigate it so easily and know what places that he can land on despite the textures constantly popping in and out of view. After hitting a checkpoint trigger and reloading to spawn back in bounds, it may look like we're going to head the wrong way, and that's because we are, because Seeker will take a quick detour to talk to his flying little robot friend to get the precision bolt upgrade for the heavy cannon. If you're unfamiliar, this upgrade makes it so we can pretty much turn our heavy cannon into a sniper. When using the Precision Bolt mod, you're limited to only a few rounds at a time, but your shots have a lot more damage to them, as would make sense with a sniper in video games. So after Seeker reloads the game from the main menu to retain the Precision Bolt and spawn back at the checkpoint, he again goes the wrong way and is going to bait a Revenant into spawning and then jump into the Revenant's hole. This is to collect a secret, which is the IDKFA cheat code. Now Seeker flies through this city block with an insane amount of velocity thanks to ballista boosting, and he hit a checkpoint at one of those force field walls where he quit to the main menu. He's now about to perform what's called the IDKFA glitch. Seeker is loading up the second mission Exultia, and he equipped the IDKFA cheat code before loading in. This cheat code unlocks all weapons and weapon masteries. Seeker then menus to his arsenal and equips the micro missiles on the heavy cannon. Now once he goes back to the main menu and loads up his game from the checkpoint again, when he switches to the heavy cannon and swaps mods, it's going to bug out and the game will think we swap back to micro missiles, which fires with an insane rate of speed, but it keeps the precision bolt ammo. This makes it so that whenever we fire the weapon while right clicking, precision bolts come out at a rapid fire rate so we can deal an insane amount of damage super quickly. You can tell that something funky is going on with the gun visually by just looking at the green dots floating around the barrel of the heavy cannon. So now with the IDKFA glitch active and some out of bounds work, Seeker interacts with an elevator through a door to bring us to a boss fight against the first Marauder of the game. After shooting some ice over the Marauder's head to distract it, Seeker absolutely annihilated it with our monstrosity of a weapon. This spawns the portal to leave the mission, bringing us back to the fortress where our newly acquired friend... Oh, it's Hayden! Like the guy from the last game! Where our newly acquired old friend Hayden scorns us for the idea of shooting a hole through the surface of Mars while Seeker punches his bowling ball. I wonder if this Hayden in this game knows the Hayden from the last game. Anyways, after entering the portal and loading into the 7th mission, Seeker is going to immediately quit to the main menu to skip a cutscene and reload the game to gain control of the Doomslayer. Actually, that was an insanely dumbed down version of what's happening. What's really happening is that Seeker is entering what's called a black screen state. This is done by exiting to the main menu as soon as the cutscene appears, then spamming enter on the menus to enter back into the game, and then waiting about 3 seconds before holding the button to skip the cutscene. This gives us control over the Doomslayer and the elevator we spawn in, even though typically you wouldn't have control there. So now that we have control, you get to see what I consider to be the most absurd mission in the speedrun. Seeker jumps on top of the elevator where he then performs a slope boost to launch himself all the way to the freaking developer room. Here he picks up the BFG 9000 and then enters a portal that brings him to the Hell Core, which is pretty much the end of the mission. At the Hell Core, Seeker performs another slope boost in a room with a bunch of demons to get out of bounds, where he blindly flies backwards across the level with a bunch of ballista boosts to reach the end of the level, bringing us to the 8th mission in the game, Sentinel Prime. Sentinel Prime is where the 3rd and final priest, Dag Grav, is located, and this mission is actually incredibly straightforward. After gaining control, Seeker immediately is going to perform an enormous slope boost on a nearby ledge to fly all the way across the level thanks to several ballista boosts. Seeker will be careful with where he lands because falling just past or inside of the door at the end of the walkway automatically starts the cutscene for entering the boss fight against the Gladiator. This fight has multiple phases and it's a really easy boss fight for the speedrun, with Seeker immediately shooting a BFG to the wall to damage it a bit, and then shooting it with the ballista when the shield eyes light up green to stagger it, and then Seeker shooting it with the heavy cannon to melt away its health and perform a glory kill to end the first phase and destroy its shield. After the screaming shield explodes, then the second phase begins, which is even more straightforward than the first phase. Seeker is going to dash around, kiting the Gladiator and shredding away at it with the heavy cannon, and also picking up heavy cannon ammo that's scattered around the arena. Once its health drops to 0, then Seeker performs the most absurdly long glory kill that has ever graced human eyeballs, which ends with the Doomslayer helping the Gladiator brush its teeth. Let's take this moment real quick to address what is the elephant in the room for a lot of you that I'm guessing some of you left comments about as soon as it came up in the video. Yes, when we did the IDKFA glitch, we did technically use a cheat code in the speedrun, which is usually something not allowed in speedrunning. However, it's a bit more of a gray area because of the fact that the cheat code is a secret you find and is more of a game modifier than a cheat code you'd enter in a text box. Additionally, the cheat is only used to activate a glitch and isn't actually utilized throughout the run for its actual perks because cheat codes are restricted to only be used in levels you've already finished. The Doom Eternal speedrunning community held a discussion and poll about the use of IDKFA, and the result of the poll was to allow the use of the cheat code to perform the glitch in the run. Back to the run, after offing the Gladiator, Seeker immediately skipped the cutscene where the Doomslayer executed Dag Grav, and now that we've wiped out the 3 priests, the Khan Maker is big angry and sent a bunch of demons to our fortress, but this isn't a huge issue because Seeker tells the Khan Maker to get good, kiddo, with just a single BFG shot that wiped out all her goons. This was followed by reloading our checkpoint at a specific moment, which for some reason automatically turned back on the power and gave us back our BFG shot, and then we opened the portal to the next mission, Terrace Nabad. To start Terrace Nabad, Seeker is going to ballista boost a couple times and then go through some standard combat with the heavy cannon. This will be followed by Seeker performing a zip similar to the one in the Fortress of Doom earlier in the run, where he lowered his FPS to 60. This allows him to dash into the wall at a specific angle and clip through thanks to both the high speed from the zip and the lowered frame rate. The positioning and angling required for the upcoming zip is super precise. Once we do the zip and get out of bounds in a few moments, Seeker will carefully drop down vertically a few floors and then ballista boost over to a solid ledge where we're going to do a slope boost. The upcoming slope boost will allow us to then ballista boost to an area where we can walk on solid ground, which connects us to a big chamber near the end of the level. When Seeker approaches the big chamber after some bunny hops, he'll deliberately fall into a specific spot in the out of bounds, which will cause us to void out and respawn back inbounds in the big chamber, where we'll dip our sword/crucible into a bullet fruit punch to charge it back up and begin a combat encounter to round out the level. Right at the start of the combat, Seeker bisected a whiplash, causing other demons like a Dread Knight to spawn, which promptly got wiped out by a BFG shot. Seeker now has one of those samurai moments with a Fireborn Baron, where the combatants sprint at each other and one of them just ends up completely eviscerated. After swatting away a second Baron like it's a fly and firing one more BFG shot to take out an Archvile as it spawns, as well as a Prowler, Seeker picks up a charge for the Crucible and positions himself where the portal to exit spawns. This marks the last time we'll be coming home to rest between missions, because while we may only have 4 missions left, they're the final stretch of the game and all lead into one another. Seeker's need for speed is shown in his eagerness to jump into the final missions by repeatedly punching his bowling ball and even the screen to try and send a message to Hayden that we want to go now. Once Hayden finally quits his nagging, then we can jump into the portal to head to the 10th mission, Necroval, and in my opinion, while Mars Core is the most absurd mission in the speedrun, Necroval takes a close second. At the start of the mission, Seeker is immediately going to back it up like a Tonka truck towards the Titan that's chained up like Marcellus Wallace. There we'll perform a slope boost and thanks to some well-timed ballista boosts, we'll be able to thread the needle and land perfectly in a hole in a wall. There we'll go to drop through a hole in the floor, but instead of falling all the way down, we jump into where a wall and ceiling meet because there's a gap in collision at this one spot and it lets us go out of bounds. Here Seeker performs an enormous slope boost to launch us all the way across the level with a bunch of ballista boosts. This lets us soar through the area at the end of the Justice League movie and clip through an enormous building where we'll bunny hop off of a white textured platform and drop down to a hallway to reach the end of the mission. This brings us to the cleverly named 11th mission, Necroval Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. Now, Part 2 typically consists of you having to fight your way up a giant tower, but fighting and climbing is slow and flying is fast. That's why we're going to predictably use slope boosting to skip most of the level and first do one off a guardrail on the bridge and then use 2 ballista boosts to launch ourselves through a part of the tower that doesn't have collision. We want to stay out of bounds when we land here because there's a ledge to stand on here that we can slope boost off of again. Seeker uses this slope boost to pretty much go straight up to the top of the tower where we'll void out and respawn in bounds in the final combat arena of the level. Here we do another black screen state strat like earlier in the elevator by quitting and loading with certain timings, causing the enemies to spawn in the arena before we actually have control, saving time overall. The combat arena starts with Seeker immediately establishing dominance over all other inmates by going after the big guy first, then collecting a BFG round while falling into a pit to respawn at the start of the arena to get a perfect angle to wipe out most of the demons with a single BFG shot. Seeker then slowly shoots a Baron because if he clears it before a nearby Caco Demon spawns, then the game soft locks, then takes out the Caco Demons once they spawn, and swings away like Meryl on a Doom Hunter that spawns where we're standing. All we have to do now to wrap up the level is break a couple chains that are supporting an Argent transmitter, which will cause it to be destroyed, and we can ride the energy flow to Urdak, the realm where the Khan Maker resides and is from. Once Scotty beams us up, we've officially finished Necroval Part 2 and are heading into the penultimate mission in the game, Urdak, where we're going to confront the Khan Maker. Now, normally in Urdak, you have to traverse a bit of the level before facing off with the Khan Maker. Instead, Seeker will perform 1 slope boost along with 7 ballista boosts while facing a certain direction. This perfectly builds up enough speed in the correct direction, letting Seeker fly all the way to the end of the level and get an ace like Simon Lizotte by landing perfectly in the little black box he needs to land in to enter the boss fight. Here Seeker does another black screen state thing by quitting to the main menu with certain timings, which makes it so that the Khan Maker spawns closer to us. Now casually, this fight can be a real pain due to the positioning of the Khan Maker as well as dealing with ammo issues, but it really couldn't be much more of a cakewalk in the speedrun. Thanks to the IDKFA glitch, our heavy cannon deals an absurd amount of damage, allowing us to mow through each of the Khan Maker's health bars pretty quickly. Seeker's actually somewhat manipulating where the Khan Maker moves, because she always moves in the opposite direction of where he's standing, so at times he's able to coerce her to pretty much back herself into a wall and not really move at all, making the act of getting to her even easier. Also, ammo isn't the biggest deal. Normally you need to precision bolt her lackeys in the head for them to drop more ammo, which can be difficult in the moment when you're running around and have to try and snipe, but because all our rounds are precision bolts, we can just spray at their head to get them to drop more ammo. Once Seeker delivers the final bop to her tummy, the fight ends and Seeker skips the cutscene to finish out the mission, bringing us to the final mission, Final Sin. Despite our efforts in killing the Khan Maker, we still have to kill the world-eating super demon, the Icon of Sin, which is now moseying about on Earth. Unfortunately, we had to leave Bega behind in Urdak to hold open the portal to Earth for us, but we'll be sure that his sacrifice was not in vain. To start off the final mission, Seeker performs an enormous slope boost that will cause him to land in a stupid small area and bring us straight to the final boss. Is anyone else getting deja vu right now? So for phase 1 of this fight, we have to break off all 8 pieces of armor on the Icon's body. Breaking each piece doesn't take much effort with our current arsenal, considering the BFG deletes a piece with one shot and our heavy cannon shreds off the rest quickly. It does require a fair bit of ammo to do though, so Seeker uses his chainsaw on some nearby zombies a couple times to get more rounds. Seeker is able to clear off all 8 armor pieces quickly and knows when to move on to the next one based on audio cues, because it turns out that only one piece of armor can fall off at once. Like, the icon has to go through each individual animation of each armor piece falling off, but we can still deal damage and know when to move on to the next armor piece based on a ping noise that plays once we've destroyed the armor. Once Seeker has destroyed all the armor pieces and has to wait for the icon to go through all the pieces individually, we have a bit of time to kill because of how melodramatic the icon is. Seeker capitalizes on this moment to go around the combat arena and pick up as much ammo as he can for the second phase of the fight. Once the icon stops being a prima donna and flailing about, it will begin to saunter away and we'll make our way to stand on the edge of the arena where the portal to leave will spawn. After then actually positioning ourselves where the portal will spawn, we get a brief glimpse of the icon's cute tush and then are promptly teleported to phase 2 of the fight, which is the final part of the game. Well, we start to get teleported and then Seeker quits to the main menu and loads the save to skip the animation of teleporting and some dialogue and go straight to phase 2. Phase 2 is super similar to phase 1 for 2 reasons. The first is that to complete the phase, we have to destroy the 8 body parts of the icon. This is done with a few BFG shots and then mostly heavy cannon fire, interspersed with some chainsaws to get ammo. This is a pretty quick task. The second reason why it's super similar to phase 1 is that the icon is still a total drama queen. However, rather than having to go through all the individual animations of each body part getting destroyed, the icon wants to put on a show this time and it has to perform 2 full attacks before its empty health bar will register and the fight will end. This means that after Seeker quickly turns its skin into ground beef, we still have to watch the big oaf complete some attacks before it finally decides to feel pain. Seeker spends this time shooting a BFG shot to clear out some enemies so we can stay safe, and then just twiddling his thumbs patiently waiting for the run to end. The run is officially over once the cutscene begins playing of the icon going big rip. If you made it to the end of this video, on behalf of both myself and Seeker, thank you so much. This run is just nutty and I'm super glad that we were able to finally show it to you on this channel, and Seeker is legitimately one of my favorite people in speedrunning, which makes working with him even better. Please do check out Seeker's socials, links are in the description. Also, thank you so much to everyone who supports the channel on Patreon. It's entirely unnecessary, but you choose to do it anyways. If you would like early access to videos and access to versions without sponsor reads, you get both of those by contributing literally $1 a month to the Patreon. But again, it's entirely unnecessary. Additionally, there wasn't any time during this run to say this, but I'd just like to say I hope you are all doing well, like seriously. There's so much going on in the world right now, and I know it can be stressful. I myself have had some restless nights these past couple weeks, but just know that there is a tomorrow, and there will always be a tomorrow. You can make it through today. And also, no one in the world is more deserving of your love than you are, so please, take some time to love yourself. You have worth. That's all for this video though. Let me know your thoughts on it by either leaving a comment below or joining my Discord server, link is in the description. This was an any% speedrun of Doom Eternal. I've been Tomato Anus, and I hope you have an above average day.